Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I am Ravi Gupta. I am from Elets. I am the CEO and founder of this organization called Elets Technomedia Private Limited. And we are a 17-year-old organization, and we have been working in spreading the ideas of innovations. And we have been bringing out a magazine called Banking and Finance Post. And this is a 7-year-old magazine, and we have been running a portal on banking and finance. It's called bfsi.eletsonline.com. And of course, we have a magazine called Digital Learning, which is again a magazine which is around 15 years old and spreading the ideas of innovation in the education sector. And today, we are honored to have with us Dr. D.N.S. KUMAR, who is the Vice Chancellor of Ansal University, Gurugram, Haryana. Welcome, Dr. Kumar. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you.
So before we start, let me give you an idea about what is this webinar all about. This topic of the webinar is valuation of business. Now, valuation of business is a very complex topic. It is based on several parameters which are quite complex, and they have to be understood deeply before one can arrive on the valuation of business object. So in the current times, where survival of the fittest has become a norm across all corporate houses, one of the foremost prime objectives of all organizations is to improve and maximize economic benefits of their stakeholders. One of the best ways to get to that process is first by knowing the value of your business. And one of the best reasons for obtaining a value of a business is to use it as a management tool. An appropriate value of business provides the top management with an insightful information to recognize the strengths and identify the weaknesses, allowing them to more effectively focus their resources in places that really count. So this workshop actually is very, very contextual in this COVID-19 situation, where the valuation becomes very, very important. And I will give a brief intro about our esteemed speaker. Dr. D.N.S. Kumar is the Vice Chancellor of Ansal University, Gurugram, and he is the Management and Financial Consultant in the areas of valuation of businesses for mergers and acquisitions, internal control, economic value addition, market value addition, enterprise risk management, etc. So with this, I welcome our speaker, Dr. D.N.S. Kumar, and I also welcome all the audience who have joined us here on Zoom and also who are watching us live on the Facebook. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Well, good evening to everybody. It's my pleasure to be part of this exercise, wherein this exercise is going to be not from one-sided, it is going to be from both the sided. Having said, I expect a good interaction from the participants because this topic is highly applied and it's a very vast one. It cannot be made from a speaker's side. Nevertheless, in the beginning, I will try to build the context, and I do have in my presentation 2 case studies and some of the financial matrices also I will bring in, and some of the subjective aspects which the valuator or analyst looks in while valuing the business. That dimension also, along with you all, I will bring in. Well, before we both start discussing on valuation of a business, the question comes to our mind, from where this topic came, valuation of business. Many people wonder, as financial statements are already there, from where this valuation came. The history of the valuation of companies or the business goes back to 1929. In 1929, US banned all alcohol companies, and all companies wanted to sell off their units to different international companies. when the deal started between the seller and the buyer, again the US made it a point, the valuation or the sale deed cannot be done based upon the book value of the businesses or the companies. And that is where a lot of insight was brought in to understand the value of companies. Akash, can I have my PPT? Well, go to next. Akash, go to next. Yes, previous one. Akash, previous one, previous one.
Back.
Yes, hold on here. Now, what is valuation? It's a process of assigning some value to an economic asset. Now, what is this economic asset? One has to understand. Economic asset is a one which has the capability or the capacity to generate future returns. And in business, we are not having one or two assets, we have multiple of assets. And each asset has to be individually looked when the valuator or analyst is valuing the total business. We'll try to understand at a later stage how value of a business is different from value of equity, or is value of equity is same as market capitalization of equity. You see, in business, you have tangible assets, you have intangible assets. These assets have to be valued not by following one approach. These all have to be valued by following different approaches. Let me give an example. If you look at the balance sheet of TCS company, as I have the figures, ready-made figures, as on 31st March 2018, the total book value of the balance sheet was around 65,000 crores. And market value, market capitalization of the company was 4,98,000 crores. Now the question comes to before us is, when the book value of business is 65,000 crores, from where this market capitalization is coming? This is one question. It means the assets which are there on the balance sheet have different values and not the recorded values. Interestingly, we all, or some of us, or most of us coming from finance and accounting background, we understand this. But at the same time, the one interesting asset, I'll just bring it to a notice, as on that date, intangible value which has been recorded on the balance sheet of TCS was 240 odd crores. At that time, they had 3,60,000 employees. Now, what are all these intangible assets to TCS? It is not just copyrights or the patents or the trademarks or the goodwill. One such significant intangible asset to modern companies like TCS is employees. Now, what is the value of this 3,60,000 employees? In this 4,98,000 crores, subtracting 65,000 crore, approximately 4,30,000 crores of rupees, whatever is there, major portion of the value comes to employees who are an intangible assets. Now, what is the value which we have to assign to this different assets is the valuation of company. And it is not a science. It is all goes with the premises or the assumptions with which the valuer, while discussing with the clients, he arrives to some assumptions based upon that. And value of a particular company could be different as it has been valued by different valuators, because the premises which have been established by the consultant or the valuator could be different one. So therefore, let us try to understand is the process of assigning an economic value to an asset, and that economic valued asset has a value generating ability or the capacity, and that is where valuation comes. In most of the transactions, as we see and I have seen, the valuation of company or the asset challenge comes when the asset has significant amount of ability to generate the future values. We are not just looking into the current value of the asset. Current value of the asset is a static one. But what we are looking is economic value, that to future economic value. So that is the valuation. See, it goes with, how the asset is going to make the performance and what kind of acceptance it has and how it aligns with the other assets. That is also very important in the valuation of a company. And a master of valuation, Professor Damodaran, he has beautifully put it. Valuation is not an objective exercise. It goes with the preconceptions, biases sometimes, and subjective assumptions or the premises which the analyst goes to establish. So that is all about valuation. Now the question comes, why we have to value the business? Before I go to differentiate between valuation and appraisal, what are the reasons or what are the occasions? What are the purposes for which we do the valuation? Valuation could be, for multiple purposes. It could be for, raising the loan from the bank. It could be for mergers and acquisition. It could be for partnership settlement, or it could be for diverse cases, wherein, husband and wife, they want to get settled, what is the value she has to get or he has to get it. And in this process, one aspect which has to be kept in mind, what is the date on which we are valuing? So, n number of purposes, n number of reasons for which the valuation can be carried out. Before we move on, a point which has to be understood by all of us, valuation is different from appraisal. A bank expert who comes to our home in order to assign the value to our building is not a valuator, is an appraiser. When we go to the bank to raise the loan against the gold and jewelry that we have, the goldsmith who is invited to the bank to value the asset, that is gold or jewelry, is not a valuer, is an appraiser. Now, why analyst won't do that? Analyst has to depend on technical people because analyst is not having the technical knowledge. So therefore, valuation is a broader concept and appraisal is a part of valuation. Many a time, we financial analyst or valuation analyst, we depend on appraiser to give appraised value while valuing the business. That is, the valuation can be done for a specific interest, or it could be a security, or it could be for total business, or it could be for intangible assets also, as I mentioned some time back. Same is the case, appraisal can also be done for all technical assets. A technical asset may be equipment, it could be know-how, it could be building, it could be land, or whatever it is. So therefore, Appraisal is a minor concept in the valuation, whereas valuation is a broader concept. In case of valuation, what happens? We look from the perspective, as I mentioned some time back, what is the economic strength of that particular asset in future, keeping in mind the current state of that asset also. But in appraisal, we don't look into the future ability of that particular asset. We only look at the current, what is the current status of that particular asset. To give an example, when the goldsmith comes to the bank, he won't keep in mind or he won't take note of what will be the future price of the gold or jewelry. As on date, what carat of gold it is, what is the prevailing price, and this is what is the value of this, the appraisal value of this. When it comes to building or machinery, the technical analyst, as far as equipment is concerned, also looks into the book value of equipment, maybe 10 crore. But he look into what is the wear and tear which has happened to that particular asset. And as on date, he brings the fair appraised value, not market value, fair appraised value. So that way, we should not get confused in terms of understanding the valuation and appraisal. Appraisal is a part of valuation. Let's move to the next. Now the question comes, why valuation? Valuation is very much required to strike a deal between hypothetical seller and hypothetical buyer. And there comes an expert's role. One who is selling the business, he may not have the idea what is the future value of this business which I am selling or this asset I am selling. Buyer also may not have that idea. So therefore, what the buyer and seller does is they engage the services of valuation analyst. It could be one analyst or it could be two analysts from both the sides. Now those